How are you? Shall we study Bible together? Before we do, shall we pray? Father in heaven, thank you. Teach us your word. Thanks. Jesus, we pray. Amen. All right. Well, we're right now we're studying a book of Revelation. Now, today we're going to study from chapter 6, verse 3 and 8. Title I gave for today's lesson is the 4 signs. Now, what's happening up to the chapter 6 of the Revelation? That is Jesus, first of all, revealed to John that he's going to explain about the things what happens before his coming, the second coming, and so that we can prepare for his coming. Now, the first Jesus, sent a message to 7 churches in chapter 2 and 3. Then he received a scroll. Scroll looks like this with 7 seals. Now that scroll is a very special scroll that has it written the plan of the mighty God about the end of this world. And so now Jesus is the one going to open each seal. Now, definitely, until you open all 7 seals, you really cannot open that scroll. So it's very important to really have to open all 7. But then every time he opens, some phenomena happens. And so what we learned was until last time, the chapter 6, verse 1 and 2, we learned that when he opened the first one, there was a white horses, and with Calvir, the rider, who has a bow. And then the question is what that meant. Now, there's several different interpretation on that, but then what I introduced was more likely it's a fake Christ. And so, compare with something called Olivet Discord, that we can see that there will be lots imitations or fake, not real Christ. The people kind of claim to be a real religion. So, and then interesting enough, somewhere around starting from like mid 1800 and even now the present 21st century, there's tons of new religions pop up everywhere in the world, not only in Japan but also in the United States, place like the Philippines, everywhere, Europe, just about everywhere you go, there will be tons of new religions popping up. So this could be one of the sign towards the end. And also, some people believe that's probably meant that Antichrist is coming. So that is one idea. Now, I'm going to explain after that I explain about Daniel's prophecy, and then if you see next chart, that now there's some people understand this 7 seal is really happening during the 7 years of tribulation. But then I take this 7 seal. It's probably the signs before the church time end. That's what I think, because again I explained that until you open all 7, the real tribulation, maybe that scroll itself cannot be opened, so that probably the real tribulation is not happening. And then and then also the 7 seals is a very similar. The content of the 7 seals very similar to the something called Olivet Discord. Now, what is the Olivet Discord? Now, that is when disciple asked Jesus what will happen before his coming, the signs of his coming. And then Jesus gave some of the signs, and some of them are very detailed signs, what will happen. And that's very similar to this seven seal. So I think this is, if we learn the seven seals and the things happening, it's really, we can tell what will happen before the rapture of the church. So that's my opinions on that part. But let us study from the verse 3. Let me read verse 3 and 4. Then, when the Lamb opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature saying, "Come!" And another host, fiery red, came out, and the one who rides it has granted permission to take a piece from the earth. So the people would butcher one another, and he was giving a huge sword. Now, very interesting. The second creature, it said, "Come." Now, do you remember there are the four creature? It's around God's throne, and the first one looks like a lion's, and then the second one's now. Do you remember it looks like a bull? Now, bull have a tendency to chase some like a red object. If you see that, this is like the bullfight scene, and then once bull, it's really kind of rush into the people. Very difficult to stop. Actually, it's a very dangerous animal, by the way. And then when this second creature said, "Come," and then here comes the red horse with a rider who has a kind of big sword. You see next picture. It looks like this. Now, what it said was that this rider now received the permission to take away peace, and then by doing that, people will start kill each other. Now that is really kind of connotate us that probably about war. That's probably the best description. First impression we get is must be something about the big war. Now, if we take a look at the Olivet Discourse, that it's said like this. I'm going to pick from the Mark chapter 13, verse 7 and 8. Let me read that. "When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be alarmed. These things must happen, but the end is still to come. For nation will rise up in arms against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in various places, and there will be famine. These are but the beginning of birth pain." Wow, that's very interesting what the Mark said. Now, the first of all, it said you will hear the rumor of war and wars. Why there the two? Can't be only one. You're going to hear the rumors of wars. But somehow the Bible described two wars. I don't know this is coincidence or what, but so far until the history of our history, there was two major world war. People in the world kind of naturally call there was a world scale war. World War really was supposed to end all the wars, but then it didn't. And but then there's the two major war, and then the World War One started 1914. And interesting enough, it's that after that we really constantly had the war in a world scale. Now, of course, some people will argue, wait a minute, about the war is or conflict. There's always throughout the history of mankind, there was always some war somewhere in the world. So how can we tell that Wars and Wars is really the World War I and World War II? Now, it's difficult to really pinpoint that, but then what the Bible said was you will hear the rumor of wars and wars. Now, really, starting around like about 150 years ago, after that, we're going to hear the rumor of war very quickly because of if there's a war somewhere in the world, we hear some kind of news about the war. Now, before that, there was war everywhere, but then sometimes something we just didn't realize right away. Is some kind of a conflict may happen in Europe, and the people in Asia didn't know in probably 18th century sometimes, like before that. But then starting from like a 19th to 20th century, if there's something happens in the world, we immediately know what's going on and going to affect everybody. And also, the Bible said that people will have a nation against nation, or race against race. Now, indeed, there was a war throughout our man history, but in the good part of the war was really tried to have, good part of the war was really like an internal war that they tried to really establish the country boundary. And even Japan, there was really the time of internal wars. But then after somewhere around World War One time, like 1914 or so, the world, how I say, like a boundary of the country somewhat set now. And after that, we start to say maybe French against Germany's, and we start to really say the nation versus nation, and the country against countries. And so, yeah, indeed, these things happens if you hear the rumor, the news about war and war. That is close to end. But then also, Bible is interesting enough that it is not end yet. See, the last war we had was World War II. I mean, last major war. That was 80 years ago, almost. And then the Bible said, well, if you hear the big war rumor, but then it's not really end right away. People back then really, many of them thought that this would be the end of the world. Some people even start saying that the Hitler could be antichrist. But apparently the world didn't end at that time, and Jesus didn't come back. But nevertheless, there's a high possibility that if you hear the rumor of the wars, this is one of the signs that we are maybe getting closer to end time. And then that's a very significant signs, I think it is. Now, let me continue to read the third seal. Let me read verse 5. Then, when the Lamb opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature saying, "Come." So I looked, and here come a black horse. The one who rode it had a balance scale in his hand. Now, this one is very interesting. The third creature said, "Come." Now, what is the third creature? The first one was a lion, and second one was a bull, and the third one looks like a man. Now, see, the lions, what the characteristic of the lion is, lions can be indicated as like a king. At the same time, lions devour people, and that really sounds like devouring people. And then the Satan's also roaming around and try to devour or try to eat people, and that kind of connotations kind of give me false religions, or like fake religions. That's kind of give me some feeling like that. But and also the bull. Indeed, the bull remind me about war, because the bull love to rush into the red things, and then very scary, and then bull indeed kill people or can kill people. But then how about the men? This time in the black horses came and kind of scary. Black horses kind of like a tough, strong. But then these guys, it's a humans. The third creature, it's a calm. It looks like a man, and then what the man can do to man. That's I mean, what's so funny things is the first the white horses. The rider has a bow, and second one has a sword. That kind of makes sense. Those are like a knight, like or the soldier, like. But the third one, he has a scale. That's kind of what I mean. It's not scary, don't you think? But the scale, why he has a scale? And then also this supposed to be, and he has the black horses, and kind of it feels like a very dark feeling. Now, the scale, if we take a look at in the Bible, how the word scale being used, there apparently have a two type of usage in the Bible. One is actually you're gonna wait for something like a money, and it's like when you do the merchant, like when you exchange things or you purchase things, you use a scale. For example, let me read the Leviticus chapter 19, verse 36, and Hosea 12:7. You must have honest balance, honest weights, honest ephah, and honest hin. I am the Lord your God who brought you out from the land of Egypt. The Hosea chapter 12, verse 7. The businessmen love to cheat. They use dishonest scale. So the word scale or balance that usually used in the Bible for something to do with the commons, something to do with the business, and that's one usage. And then there's another usage of using balance. That is, you actually going to scale or measure people's value. Let me read like Matthew chapter 7, 2, and Daniel chapter 5, 27. For by the standard you judge, you will be judged, and the measure you use will be measure you received. Daniel 5, 27. As for tekel, you are weighed on the balance and found to be lacking. So the both usage really measure the value of the person. Especially very interesting, the one in Daniel chapter 5, verse 27. That is a scene that the Medo-Persia Empire now going to occupy. They're going to invade the Babylon, and the kingdom of the Babylon is just about to going to be destroyed or lost. And there's a king of the Babylon. He having a kind of big party. Using the utensil from the old temple, Solomon's temple, and then there was a hands, like with a finger, and then it write some kind of words on the wall, and the king really scared on that, and so the Babylons asked Daniel what that meant, and Daniel translated and said, "Hey, Mr. King, what it said is you are really weighted with a balance, and God told you that you are nothing. You are value enough to be a king. You're not like a kind of king you should be." So this is really the way they use balance or scale. And so really the two, one is something to do with money or business or merchant, and the other one is something to do with the value of the person. Now continue to read what that meant still. Let me read verse 6. It said like this. Then I heard something like a voice from among the four living creatures saying, a quart of wheat will cost a day's pay, and 3 quarts of barley will cost a day's pay. but do not damage the olive oil and the wine. Now, very interesting. What I say is, like a quart of wheat. It's about like 1 liter of the wheat. So maybe just about this much. The wheat is in the Bible says 1 denarius, 1 day wage. Now 1 denarius is about 1 day's pay or wage for people back then. So that is very interesting. How that and then also the 1 quart or like 1 liter of the wheat. It's just about how much you need for eating food for 1 day. Your family. It's about how much you consume for your family to consume for 1 day, and somehow it give us impression. You buy the food for your daily need for your food by using your 1 day's wage. Now that is very expensive. Well, even back then, the time the John writing this, that's about almost 10 times more you're supposed to be able to buy with the one denarius. 1 day wage, you should buy a lot of food. But then, what the verse 6 saying, you're only able to get the 1 day's amount of food with a 1 day wage. That potentially meant that there will be a tremendous inflation maybe, or famines, or we don't know for sure, but then also give us the impression that you work so hard and you're barely able to survive. Like you work so hard every day and you get the wage, but every money that you got, you're gonna spend for what you need, and you really don't have any savings in the bank. That kind of impression also I got too. Now it's very interesting is that somewhere around stuff from like after World War II, I would say maybe about 80 years ago, I don't know have you noticed this or not, but things has been tremendous change in our commons or world economy, because before maybe about 8 years before that, lots of people were still live in the countryside, and they're doing there's a lot of farmer. But now the number of the people who works in the farming land is a very small percentage compared to the vast majority of people now work at the company. And used to be, up until really 100 years ago, people cannot leave their land because if you really, people actually stuck to the land. If you really move from the land, that's kind of difficult to survive. But then the things changed. Now people can free to move from the land, but then people cannot leave from the company. There are lots of people found a job working for somebody else, and then people floated to the place where they have a job. So somewhere around past 100 years, the big city become bigger and bigger because so many people found a job in a big city, and so many people come, and that trend is still on. Now this only happens about after World War II especially, and then people have to work. 1 day wage they had to pay, and then not too many people had the saving. But what's so also interesting about is that what it said is do not touch olive oil and the wine. Why? Well, one thing for sure is olive oil and wine back then was a very luxury item. It's a very expensive item, and then poor people didn't have enough olive oil, wine, and then some very poor persons that they have very much water diluted wine, cheap wine maybe, but then the fact is those are luxury commodity. So what's verse 6 and also the verse 5 and verse 6 give us some connotations that there will be the difficult world to live, and people live really with a money kind of world, and also rich become more richer, poor become more poor. The diversification of the rich and poor become greater and greater. Now, let me take a look what the Olivet Discourse said. Let me read from the Matthew chapter 24, verse 7, and also 12. Let me read that. For nation will rise up in arms against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be a famine and earthquakes in various places. Verse 12. And because lawlessness will increase so much, the love of many will grow cold. What the Bible indicate towards the end of the world, the sign is there will be a bad law, and then people's love getting cold. I feel that's very much now. I mean, last year I went to United States, and what I was shocked was things has been changed. I used to. It's about like 40 years ago when I lived in the U.S. I went to college in the West Coast. Then I went to city like Seattle, San Francisco, and all that places in the West Coast. But just last year, I went to Seattle, and what I found was lots of homeless people in Seattle. Seattle to me is a very thriving city. It has a major corporation, actually new ones coming from the Seattle, such as like a headquarters of Google, Microsoft, Costco, Starbucks. All the big the new business thrived in Seattle, which means there must have tons of jobs being created. But even though there's tons of homeless people I saw, if you see the picture like this, this is really downtown Seattle, and then looks like this. And what really surprised me, actually, it was a big shock, was many people lived nearby or underneath the highway. It wasn't like that 40 years ago when I was a college kid. That's a big surprise to me. What's happening here? There in the United States. At the and then this phenomena is not only USA. Seems happening in Europe as well, and everywhere in the world. Interesting enough, I don't see too much homeless in Japan. Actually, none. But then, what I know is there's poor people become more poor, and rich people become more rich, even place like Japan. So that's kind of sad. Maybe the third seal with the black horses with the scale potentially meant that what the man can do to men is really, there is not really love towards the other people. That's my feeling about it. Now let's move on to next seal, the number 4 seal. Then let me read verse 7 and 8. Then when the Lamb opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th living creature saying, "Come." So I looked, and here comes a pale green horse. The name of the one who rode it was Death, and Hades followed right behind. They were given authority over a fourth of the earth to kill its population with the sword, famine, and disease, and by the wild animals of the earth. Wow. Now the 4th creature said, "Come." Now 4th creature was supposed to look like an eagle, like flying the sky, and then so feels like something will come from the sky, kind of like a damage from the sky maybe, and then the what it came was like a pale, kind of sickening color. A horse with now the rider of the horse, he had a name. his name is Death. Now that's not really good. And then also what it said was Haiti. Haiti is a place after people die, and that place that, according to the Christian idea of the Haiti, is that's where the people will go wait for the judgment by God, which means that basically we think that where the Haiti is a place that non-Christians will go. And so what the Bible said in this particular vision is that this pale horse with a guy named Death, the Haiti is the one coming closer to people. And also, this gonna have like what's it, famine, and also some kind of disease or like a plague, and also the 1/4 of people will be affected with this. And also what also kind of amazed me is there will be a wild animals or the beast of the earth. Now the beast of the earth, I thought that's kind of very strange. The beast to me is like a lions or like a bear, but we don't have enough lions to kill a bunch of people, don't you think? And at first I thought that was very strange, but then when the Bible talk about beast, it's not necessarily only those wild animals in like bears and lions and all that kind of. Sometimes use the beast to explain about like a dictator, like kings. And when I look at it like that, there's a possibility there will be a bunch of dictators, and then also the famines, and then the plague or disease, or now of course some people say, hey Kenji, those plagues, we had it throughout the history, but again, towards the end of the world, the plague have to be really, it's like everything should be like a world scale. And then, used to be, if there is a one plague in one location, the rest of the other world didn't have to worry too much, because it takes long time to spread. Like the Middle Ages, some place has some plague, and then it didn't affect in Asia, or like what happened in Asia maybe didn't affect in Africa. But then now, if past, I would say 20 to 30 years, the things changed. If there's people moving around a lot, and once one plague happens, coronavirus is the prime example. People being panicked because it was spread immediately entire world. The government have to close their border in order to let no foreigner come into their country. Otherwise, people would die, and this thing. Then this kind of phenomena, I just cannot understand why we cannot stop it. Our science has advanced so much, especially the medical science has advanced so much, yet the new ones keep popping up. I remember, like early 80s, there's something people really scared about, the AIDS. And I remember that because as soon as the AIDS hit, I remember the news said maybe about 500,000 people will die in the United States alone. And then the reason I remember clearly on that really panic was that because the health insurance kind of skyrocketed at that time. I was very upset. I worked so hard, and then now I had to pay a good portion of my income to the health insurance, and something I didn't even plan. I mean, why is the health insurance become so high around 80s? That was my impression. But the explanation was, there will be an AIDS, and then but then the funny thing is that after AIDS ceased, well, there still is, but then there's another one like a bird flu or like a mad cow disease, or people kind of chickened up. Now, interesting is how this type of phenomena the Bible described as birth pain. That's the birth pain to me is, see, I have, well, the 4 kids, and then I actually had the chance to see how the birth pain is like, and then when the woman become pregnant, a wife become pregnant, at the beginning part is not bad. I mean, at the first 3 months or 4 months, actually sometimes we don't realize that a woman's pregnant until maybe 3-4 months. They notice, and then the pain but it's become stronger and stronger, and interval of the pain becomes shorter and shorter. So then eventually the water broke, and then you gotta gush into a hospital right away. So the birth pain is to me is really start getting closer and closer. More one disaster happened in the world, and then right after that almost another one's come, like one after. So this, I feel all these things happening right now in the world is very big signs of the end, and also the Olivet Disco. Let me read from the Luke chapter 21 verse 11. There will be great earthquakes and famines and plagues in various places, and there will be terrifying signs and great signs from heaven. Now, this creature, the say come, is supposed to be eagle. So right now, the fourth seal is a pale horses with a kind of sickening, disease, and also like earthquake and so on. It's really happening now, to my opinion. Lots of people die, but it's only going to affect the 1/4 of people in the world, and with maybe dictators, so on, But that's now. Let me show you the next slides. I made this. This is just my predictions. This is what I think. Do you remember there was 7 churches, and at that time, one church came, and then after that, the type of a church continued, and then now we have 7 different type of churches, and like that, all these 4 seals, I think is happening in a different time, and then now we have all 4. War everywhere, and kind of like questionable religions, or like dictators and the famines and plague. And this has just happened. This is a crazy world. Where I lived around 70s, 80s. I thought the world will be a better place. Time I get, 50, 60 years old, really didn't. I remember, the time of the Beatles and all that. We had a hope. We thought things would be better at the time we grew up. All the crazy things happened was people living before us, and so the time I would be old enough, we'll see. I couldn't, 30, 40 years ago, I couldn't even think about why people have to fight or kill each other, but it's still happening. Look at the war in Ukraine. That's terrible. And then, but then the things I can say is that people in the world, we try to make this world a better place, but it's not happening that way. And then everywhere I look, the people really focus on how to live, how to survive in this world. That many religions other than Christianity, they will say, don't you like to be happy in this world? Don't you like to be blessed in this world? See, Christianity, don't say that. Our religion say this world we're going to end. We shouldn't put that hope on this world. Our Christian hope is in the coming world, the world of kingdom. So we pray. Our major prayer is Thy kingdom comes, and we expect that Jesus coming, and that is our hope. But in the other religions, how you can be blessed by their kind of a statue or whatever that is. And then more you work hard, more you try to live, a holy life, you'll be blessed by their gods and something like that. And also, the war has never ended. I don't understand it. Why people have to continue the war? Because there's a group, some dictator maybe, they wanted to really make their country better or stronger. And then one country try to, be stronger, and then country next will be chickened up, and they try to be stronger, and then they're gonna create more war, and then more weapon they make. Eventually, they're gonna use it. That's sad. And also, people will keep saying that, oh, you gotta be successful. See, those people who live in a poor situation, they're poor people. They didn't work hard enough. We're a winner. They're a loser. And then we studied so hard. I went to good college. I got the good education, good job. And then now I deserve to have a nice house. I deserve to have a nice car. Then those people, they don't deserve because they didn't work hard enough, or they didn't. So why so accumulating wealth in this world? This world, according to Christian value, this world will end. And no matter how much money and no matter how big the house, mansions you build, you will die anyway. Either you die or this world will end. Instead of putting too much hope in this world, of course, Christian Bible never said that you cannot be rich. You can be rich, but at the same time, putting too much hope and money, depend on money instead of depend on God is kind of sad, because this world will end according to our faith, and instead of putting too much hope on this world, the money, if you have a wealth, use that to really show the love, or show glory of God. And that is our teaching in the Christian world. So it's very sad. Now, I like to conclude today's message. There's a fourth seal being opened. To me, that's a sign of the an end of the church age. And this is, to us, is Jesus coming. I think it's very near, close. Shall we pray? Father in heaven, thank you for your teaching, and thank you for your guiding to us. Jesus, we pray. Amen. All right. You take care. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.